Let's see, should I count the votes for Tailstorm What to Play 2012? Or do something completely different? Let's get this one out of the way. Nope, not on the 360 or PlayStation 3. Not even on the GameCube. Sonic Adventure on the Sega Dreamcast. Questions suddenly arise like, why and how and what? One of my colleagues, Brian, and that is his real name, came to my cubicle one day and gave me a box with the Dreamcast and accessories. He was like, here you go, I ain't using it anymore. A console I didn't have to pay for. I gotta make a video out of this. The Dreamcast came to the US market in 1999 and was only around for about 2 years. And I've rarely seen one. Now I own one. So I present to you the console ahead of its time. Now let's play some Sonic.
Who knew we'd be returning to this subject so soon? The first video I did officially with Destructoid was my second encounter with Sonic, and the results were really ugly. I don't know why I had to be so indignant about coaxial cables and game titles. Plus I looked ridiculous in the girl Sonic shirt. Gah, what was I thinking? That ending was so unfunny, I might as well kept it going with Crapcom, E-Gay, Ubi-Dum, No Nami, and THQ. You suck! And yes, this was also the video where I broke a Wii remote over my knee. You've no doubt seen me play this clip every chance I get because, well...
I broke a Wii remote over my knee! Where's my million views?
Anyway, I jumped from Sonic Deuce to Trace Sonic games on the Wii, and now I'm jumping to the mathematical middle with Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure begins with a mysterious water creature called Chaos attacking City Hall. Actually, Chaos is just hanging out and the cops start shooting. Sonic the Hedgehog shows up, of course, I mean he's in the title, and clears it out. Interesting, starting a game with a boss fight. That's different. From there, Sonic begins his adventure by running into old friends and losing Chaos Emeralds to Dr. Robe Eggbot Mandic. And from here, I'm beginning to see how later Sonic games were influenced. Sonic Adventure may not be the first 3D game. That honor belongs to another game. It was bad. We have these stages of fast platforming and boss fights that harken from the days of Genesis. Just the good old collecting rings and jumping tactics. But then there's these open exploration areas that require thought to connect the levels. I just want to go fast when I'm playing Sonic. Now, whether this next point is good or bad is a matter of preference. Playing as Sonic is actually a small part of the game. When I finished the Sonic campaign at about 4 hours, I was feeling kind of gypped, which is weird considering I didn't pay for any of this. Sonic Adventure has 6 playable characters that are introduced throughout the game, and Sonic himself is only the beginning. Tails, or Miles Tails per hour, ha, genius, pretty much mirrors the Sonic levels and reworks them as races. Tails also pilots a plane while attacking the egg carrier, and for some reason it reminded me of Rogue Squadron 3. I don't know why. See? Here, it's in my notes. What was the connection? Knuckles the... Echidna? Acts as a protector of the Chaos Emeralds and uses his badass climbing and flying abilities to seek out the Emerald Shards. Hold on, is Sarah around? Nope. Superman that hoe! Amy Rose is probably my favorite character because she plays like an actual platformer. Sure, she's a bit of a ninny, but the robot constantly chasing her like Nemesis adds a surprisingly fun challenge. I quickly abandoned Big the Cat once I saw he was essentially a character to play a fishing minigame. Last is E102 Gamma, an evil robot that turns good. He's versatile and deadly, but I stopped playing him when I couldn't find the Wind Stone. Playing all the characters shows a different angle to the same story, which I'll admit is really neat. The subject of graphics I promise not to talk about when conversating about Dreamcast games. I'm sure since this was the first game on the first entry in the 6th console generation, everyone's eyeballs blew up when previewing Sonic Adventure. The audio problems, however, are free range. Tails is voiced by a kid, meaning... It's like when I saw the trailer for Dougal and it seemed like a credible movie. Then I watched it and there was a stupid kid voicing the dog, among various other fatal problems. Not that you can hear Tails much because the music easily drowns out the spoken dialogue. I've done a bit of DVD authoring and I've been bitched out by my supervisors for putting menu music way higher than the movie. So suck it, Sonic Team, balance your audio! Sonic Adventure also suffers from a fundamental issue. The game doesn't work. Let's not mince words here, I'm saying they didn't finish making it. Everything is loose, from jumping to collision detection to attacking to that damn camera getting stuck on everything. Back to the notes, what did I say? Platforming is really iffy. And when you're on the last homing attack for the boss and Sonic just flies in the opposite direction, it creates frustration levels only previously achieved by... I don't know. I retired that joke a while ago, and I haven't thought about older games that make me angry. I guess Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, that had a lot of hard bosses. Beyond glitching and ill controls, Sonic Adventure is just a hard game to grasp. Why is there so much empty, unused space in the world? I would expect something to make these structures worth climbing, but there's nothing. Why are the methods of progression so inconsistent? At first, Sonic is connecting elements, stones, and statues, but that was dropped rather fast. Oh, and get this! Knuckles can upgrade his abilities in this cave and dig up the
monkey destruction switch.
I thought we were trying to save these small animals. This item allows him to leave the cave. Now I check the instruction orb to see what to do next, right? It tells me to use the
monkey destruction switch
to get rid of the monkey. But that's what I just did. That's how I'm able to read this. No, not that monkey. This one. And then the
monkey destruction switch
is never seen again. Don't get me wrong, I'm not looking for realism, just a little uniformity. The pinball level was a little offsetting because you could easily spend an eternity in there, but I thought it was still a little cool seeing Knights from that Sega Saturn game. I remember getting really hyped for the Knights game on Wii, and then it was released and I didn't hear much about it anymore. The mention of these problems may stoke up a well back then type of defense, but here's the thing. I was playing platforming games in 1999, and they generally were not this bad.
Being a Nintendo fanboy, I've been, well, spoiled. As each of the big franchises made their transition to 3D, they've been close to flawless and have stood the test of time. Sonic Adventure has aged like milk, and that seems to be evident as the reviews of all the ports seem to be in line with what I'm saying. But why was it so acclaimed back then? Perhaps because we were so excited to see a new Sonic game, we had on rose-tinted... Well, what do we have here? Let's take another look at this game.
Wow, characters have voices? No way! I can play as Sonic, Knuckles, or Tails? My mind has been blown! That camera is perfect. It's the best non-functioning game I've ever played!
Alright, but seriously now.
It's a fun but incredibly flawed game.
Now I'd like to talk about the Dreamcast. We've all heard that it's a console ahead of its time, but I wonder how that could have been if the PlayStation 2 killed it so fast. Alright, I don't want to start a console war argument. What's inside the Dreamcast? I could talk about specs, but why? To the internet audience, it's just numbers and abbreviations. I remember that the GameCube had a 486 MHz CPU, but do you know what that means? The Dreamcast has a top-loading disk drive, which means it's a loud drive. Forgot about that problem with top loaders. The Dreamcast took GD-ROM discs, a proprietary format that had a 1.2 gigabyte capacity. There's those mysterious numbers again. Look, it's a little bit more than a CD-ROM and a lot less than a DVD-ROM.
I also like to test music CDs in my consoles. I'm weird in that way. Before I owned one, I asked a friend if his PlayStation 2 would play music CDs. He asked me why buy CDs when he had Napster. Avoiding the question, obviously. Yeah, this was back in 2000. We were crazy. Back to the point, the Dreamcast can play music CDs.
The controller had a Super Nintendo button layout and only one analog stick, but 2 analog bumpers before the GameCube and Xbox. The wire goes at the bottom so it doesn't interfere with the VMU. Yes, the visual memory unit. You can transfer data from some games and interact with it. Oh, I'm gonna need some new batteries on this one. I think the most interesting and forward-thinking piece of the Dreamcast was web browsing, and that was made possible with the modem that came with the system. Currently, I'm unable to test this because first, after 13 years, I don't know where it would take me, and second, it's a 56K modem. I'd have to get the broadband adapter. Sega had long since dropped out of the handheld console market, but the Dreamcast was able to hook up to the Neo Geo Pocket Color, kind of like the GameCube to the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, it's on the top of my Christmas list, Neo Geo Pocket Color. But that's kind of where I'm going with this. I didn't pay for this Dreamcast, and I'd like that to continue. So here it is. If you send me a Dreamcast game or accessory, I guarantee I'll make a video of it. It could be Dino Crisis, Dead or Alive, Crazy Taxi, or the cable that hooks up the Dreamcast to the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Alright, let's just see how this goes.
Because after 5 years on YouTube, I feel entitled to beg for free stuff.
Yo, who got it better than me? Better line on the block, rolling VIP.
I needed a project name for this, and I was thinking Dreamcaster, but it's too nonsensical, and I think it's also the name for a child exploitation web domain.